Thanks very much, Christina. Great to be here. From hearing a lot of detail and getting into the nuts and bolts of investment from both sides of the coin, I'm going to take the conversation sort of zooming out to the bigger picture and talking about some of the activities that go on in the investment community and some of the data and the research that sits behind that. One of those players in the investment community is the British Business Bank, which is the largest domestic investor in UK venture and venture capital. The British Business Bank is the UK's government-owned economic development bank, government-owned, independently managed. And we deliver finance through over 200 delivery partners. So it's all fully through the markets as opposed to investing and lending directly. And the value of the finance supported out in the market right now is just nudging 12.5 billion, and that's excluding all of the COVID and the emergency loan funds that the British Business Bank managed on behalf of government. And in the southeast, which is the area of the country that I cover, excluding London, that's about 1.4 billion, so it's about 11.5% of the money behind innovation in the southeast is that proportion of the whole of the value out there. In terms of the strategic objectives of the British Business Bank, the two most relevant to today's summit are backing innovation, and most of that is through equity investment, not solely. There is venture debt and other lines of debt, but a good proportion through equity investment. And the second point is unlocking innovation, and that's opening up the markets and investment to those to make it as broad as possible, wherever you are in the country, whatever your background, gender, ethnicity, all of that. So that unlocking potential is really key. And the British Business Bank is one of the founding signatories of the Investing in Women Code. So various research tells us an awful lot about what's going on in the investment community. And the Southeast has about 16% of the business population, but we have about 11% of equity deals. And a lot of that is due to the proximity of London, and there's lots of overlap between London and the parts of the country outside London. And as we will all recognise, the Southeast is, on the whole, generally economically good. However, this masks persistent challenges faced by many small businesses in gaps in finance. And that's a good part of the conversation that's happening today in terms of the potential wasted opportunities through that. There's also a lack of diversity in angels and the VC community, and that remains quite low. And whilst the share of equity deals with teams with at least one female founder has increased over the last decade, that was driven mostly by mixed gender teams. So there is work to do, and there's been discussion already about that, and we'll have more as well. So there is much more to do in terms of opening up the investment community, and again, for both female investors as well as investing in female founders. One of the programs that the British Business Bank sits behind is the Regional Angels program, and the intention here is to increase the aggregate amount of equity investment in earlier stage businesses with high growth potential. So that is focusing, and you won't be surprised to hear, focusing outside London and the Southeast, but there definitely are investors behind that program investing in businesses in the Southeast. So I work in the field team, so they're out there in the market, understanding what's going on, talking to investors and the professional networks. And one of the priorities that we have is helping build the angel investment community. So we're supporting angel networks as a convener to help collaborate, engage with new investors, attracting more investors into the community, and just increasing the amount of that investment in the Southeast business opportunity. So we work closely with partners, stakeholders, including Southeast Angels, most relevant to today, and a program of activity will continue over the next few months. And I think this summit will will inform what we do next, and I'll be working with Christina on doing some of that work. UK Business Angels Association, we've also been working closely, and we have common aims and objectives that sit behind that. One of those programs was a program called Tech Invest, which was across the UK, spotlighting high growth potential in a series of pitch showcases. And that was across 4 separate events, some location-based and some sector-based. And some of the results out of that joint project was that over 450 applications came in to present. There were 40 business pitches, and so far we can record against that in those businesses £15 million raised to date. So where we can work together to open up the conversation and the dialogue, we know that bears fruit. We're also working with university-led angel groups and syndicates and other groups across the UK, as well as some of the other agencies such as Innovate UK. And there's a memorandum of understanding between the British Business Bank and Innovate UK. So we're all supporting one common core customer, if you like, end customer, that innovation-led UK business through from concept to commercialisation to scale and growth. Part of that, and a real integral part of that in the angel community, is UK Business Angels Association. I will pause in terms of what I'm going to say about the British Business Bank at that point, and move on to being a real privilege to introduce Jenny Tooth next, who is the Chief Exec of the UK Business Angels Association. And as I mentioned, the British Business Bank and UK Business Angels Association work closely together across the UK to look at doing those things that we have common goals, aims and objectives into attracting more investment, making more investment, opening up that community, jointly hosting events, speaking at each other's events. And Jenny very much has a focus on backing female investors and bringing new female investors in, and I'm sure she may go on to talk about that. So Jenny certainly champions the message of early stage investment, the importance of opening up investment to address that early stage investment gap that I've talked about. So without further ado, I shall hand over to Jenny. Thank you, Jenny.